Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode of the Caffeinated Librarians, MPL's pop culture podcast. We're continuing with our adventure series with the discussion of the 2001 Hindi language historical drama film Asoka. So this film stars Shah Rukh Khan as Asoka, the titular character, Kareena Kapoor, Rahul Dev, Danny Denzongpa, sorry if I'm just butchered that, and Rishita Bhatt and Ajit Kumar. So they play the central characters in the film. And Asoka is like a highly dramatized account of an actual emperor who ruled the Indian subcontinent in the 3rd century BC. Not much is really known about him. He is credited after he sort of realized that his life of pillaging, plunder, and death was leading him nowhere. He decided to become Buddhist, and he is credited with spreading Buddhism along with his 2 children from one of his wives. They are also credited with spreading Buddhism throughout Southeast Asia. So it's a very loose. I hate to say biographical.
I actually I would say this was. I thought you were going to say this was exactly historically accurate.
Oh,
no.
I mean, he did invent hair gel.
He did, yes.
I loved, as soon as he cut his hair, it's just perfectly gelled back.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, give me more 2000s hairstyles.
Of course. So, there will be spoilers. This film is over 20 years old, but if you haven't seen it, spoilers, and you can come back, watch it, and give us your thoughts on it.
If you don't know what went down in the 3rd century BC, I'm sorry.
Open a book.
So, with regards to the actual emperor...
Oh, I love that dude.
Oh,
that was my boy.
Bhima?
Yeah, Bhima.
So,
he was the only, good... Not the only good character, but he was,
He had common sense.
Yeah,
he had
exactly.
a head on his shoulder.
Yeah.
He communicated well.
Also, so there's a part where Bhima tells Karuka...
Karwaki.
Yeah.
There's a part where Bhima tells Karwaki that she's not actually the daughter of whoever.
Yeah.
So she's not really a princess. Did anybody else think that was going to be bigger?
Yes.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
I didn't like Bhima. I didn't
You
like
don't
him.
like Bhima?
He was rooting against the main couple. I was like, get out of here. Get out of here. Stop telling him she died. Don't do that.
True. Yeah.
That was messed up.
It was kind of messed up. That's what kind of started his rampage.
Rampage, yeah.
Exactly. So, the characters of Karwaki and Maharani Devi, who are the 2 wives in the film, are actual historical figures. So, Karwaki was the 2nd queen consort of Emperor Asoka and his 4th wife. And she gave birth to 1 son, and she is, I think, his only queen that's actually mentioned in royal edicts. And then Maharani Devi was his 2nd wife.
So Devi, go back, after I say this, go back and look at a picture of her. Tell me not a doppelganger for Alyssa Milano.
I've thought the exact same
Damn
thing.
straight.
Yeah.
Great minds.
Yeah, no, really.
Yeah.
I've always
I
thought
wasn't
that she
thinking
resembled
about it,
Alyssa
but
Milano.
wow.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. I love it.
So contrary to the way the relationship is depicted in the film, Asoka and Maharani Devi had a very loving relationship. And
He was kind of a to her in the movie.
Yeah, and her 2 children, Prince Mahendra and Princess Sanghamita, again, I apologize for the way I'm pronouncing these names,
I forgive
are
you.
the ones that are credited with assisting the spread of Buddhism throughout the continent. So those 2 female characters are historical characters. They were his wives, and according to records, he had good relationships with both of them.
And I just want to say to Lewis's point, you need a narrative. You need to drive the narrative.
Yeah.
His first love, quote unquote, died, and he's broken up about it, and he then goes and marries someone else who's his 2nd choice, not his first choice. So,
Yeah.
What a second choice, though. Good
Yeah.
job, man.
From what I understand, too, he never went into hiding as a commoner either. But I loved that section. That was maybe my favorite part of the movie. I was like, I just give me more Shah Rukh Khan running around.
Yeah.
and
Why not
being
just give
goofy.
me more younger Shah Rukh Khan in general.
Netflix has a lot of his films. Like,
Well, that's nice.
Now,
to know.
yeah.
The moment I knew I was gonna love this movie was in the beginning when he's like waging the impossible war and winning perfectly. And,
Yeah.
And he's standing there like this. He's like, win the war through deceit if necessary. And I'm like, I love this
In
guy.
the mind.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start at the beginning of the movie. Little Ashok is there with his grandfather or his uncle,
His grandfather.
Yeah.
and the uncle is like don't mess with this sword. Essentially,
Yeah.
like this sword seeks out blood, and blood's bad and all that crap. You would think, after a warning like that, Grandpa is going to go and bury that sword. No, he doesn't. He basically just tosses it right in front of him. It's a kid. The kid's going to pick up the sword, man.
Yeah, and then the sword goes ahead and kills the baby birds.
Those baby birds.
That did not deserve.
No, they didn't deserve to die.
No.
Now, question. Is the sword magical?
No, it's just
No.
a metaphor.
All right.
Yeah.
Because, like, I was like, is he just really, really good at fighting? Or is the sword giving him
Magical,
abilities?
like He-Man.
I think it's
Yeah.
just metaphor.
Just metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay, the weird sword he had though, that like long.
I
thing,
hated that thing.
That was
Long-
insane.
what's
I
the
kind of
sword?
liked it, but like
That's an actual
I-
historical weapon. So Shah Rukh Khan trained in an actual Indian martial arts for the
Hell
film.
yeah.
And that
I-
weapon is very hard to wield.
I will say they should not have put all of those scenes in slow motion.
Oh.
It didn't
Agreed.
play well
Agreed.
because it would have looked so much cooler if he was doing it
Yeah.
actual speed. But
Yeah,
slow
he had-
motion made it look
yeah,
like he
that-
was just like.
Yeah, that particular weapon, I don't remember what it's called, but it's very hard to wield. You have to
Well,
be
yeah.
very careful because those are blades.
When he's like wrapping it around himself, that was crazy.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think he did get injured. I know he obviously did train in some form of martial arts for the role when he was filming this. So his grandfather was Emperor Chandragupta Maurya. I'm so sorry, people.
You don't have to say that every time.
I
It's all
know.
right.
I just feel so bad.
Yeah.
And he did abdicate his throne and in favor of pursuing a life of nonviolence, and he became Buddhist.
No, he became Jainist.
Janus. My bad.
What I don't know that religion very well at all. But
I
I know it was
I
a
can't
thing in
speak too
ancient
much on
India.
Jainism. So I'm not gonna, because I don't want to talk about something I don't really know too much about. But so in the beginning of the film, his grandfather's having a talk with Prince Ashok, who is unhappy that his grandfather is abdicating, and he demands basically that if I can't have you, I want your sword. And that's when his grandfather gives him that speech about how the sword is a demon that craves blood and more blood, and let's just chuck this sword. So he chucks it into the water, and as Lou said, Ashok finds the sword, does a fancy dance with it, kills some birds.
He does
and,
dance.
and it's a kind of heavy-handed metaphor, as the grandfather said, it seeks out blood, it kills two birds, and you see the blood dripping, down
Two
the sword.
birds with one blade.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And Ashok is a very talented warrior. He not only has the warrior skills, he also is extremely intelligent, and he is envied and despised by his half-brothers. So his father has two queens, and the one queen who sort of has his ear, the one he listens to, she is looking out, which makes a lot of sense, for the benefit of her own sons.
Mm-hmm.
So Prince Sushim is the elder half-brother, and he's the villain of the story, the one who has attempted to assassinate Ashok at least 11 times.
So many
And has
times.
Yeah.
failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's issue number one, and not really an issue with the movie, but just an issue with him. Like his whole thing against Ashok was him saying like, oh, you're gonna take the throne, but how can you take the throne if you're gonna kill your brothers? Dude, all you've been doing your whole life is trying to kill your brother.
I loved when he was like, my enemy would not attack me from behind. My enemy would look me in the eyes. And it's just like, yes.
Yeah, there are at least 11 attempts on his life, and what sort of convinces Ashok to leave is that his mom basically begs him, you either leave and she takes this vow of silence, or you will never hear my words again. and he has a very deep relationship with his mother, and he basically says, okay, for your sake, I will leave, and I will essentially not pursue the throne, and he leaves, becomes a wanderer, he adopts a new kind of persona, and he meets Karuaki.
I loved her. She
who
was
is
so
the
cool.
princess of Kalinga, which is another kingdom, and one of the kingdoms that hasn't yet been conquered by Asoka's empire. And she is traveling with her brother Adia and their guard Bhima. So essentially her parents were assassinated. You learn fairly quickly who the assassin is, because it's not really subtle who the bad guy is in Kalinga. It's like, all he was like twirl his mustache. So her parents were assassinated.
Every prime minister in this is so evil.
I know. Yeah. So they're on the run, essentially, and Karuaki, in a very seductive kind of scene, is dancing and bathing and singing, and I love the song because it's basically an empowerment song saying that I'm worth more, so you have to work in order to earn my love.
Yeah.
Ashok sees her and it's like, ooh, who is this woman who's bathing?
Something beautiful about this film is that they don't kiss, which I assume is related to just like censorship standards and stuff.
With Shah Rukh Khan, and I feel like such a nerd.
Please nerd out.
With Shah Rukh Khan, he basically will not kiss his leading ladies.
Okay.
So generally speaking, with Hindi cinema, that obviously has changed. Generally speaking, that form of affection, kissing, and also like sexual scenes in the past were not really shown. That has changed now, but yeah. So
why won't he kiss his co-stars?
I think it's because he's married,
Yeah.
and I know also when he was really young, he did this film which you actually can't really find. I think he bought the rights to it, and he had a love scene. And he received backlash for that love scene because I think he was like nude in the love scene. Obviously, he was fully nude, and he received a lot of backlash. So I think from that moment on, I think he also decided he would not do certain things. And I think kissing, that might be one reason. I think also he's married, so maybe out of respect for his wife, he won't do it.
However, the workaround for this is they are just like aggressively grinding on each other in every scene in a way that's way more sexual, at least to me.
Couldn't agree more.
With a lot of these films, the song itself, the choreo is a way to like, get around that. But like I said, there are modern films where you will see a love scene.
And aggressive nuzzling.
Nuzzling, yeah. But for him, he has decided like he will not kiss his co-stars, and I don't think that's changed.
More power to him. Honestly, like that took a lot of willpower, because like I was sitting there in that scene, be like, dude, you have to kiss her.
No, he just keeps like almost doing it and then go right into her neck, and you're like, oh.
So Karuaki is not really impressed by him at first, but he's Shah Rukh Khan.
Yeah.
So that man is gorgeous. And he quickly wins her over with his wit, his good looks, and also he saves her life.
That helps.
Exactly, yes.
It does help.
Yeah, so nothing will cause a woman to swoon more than a guy just jumping in and kicking everyone's ass in an epic fight scene. He goes like, oh, and you can already see like, oh my God, who is this man?
Yeah.
And I like how he says, I'm no one, and Bhima's like, sure you are.
You're no one. I got your number, bud.
Yeah, Bhima isn't too happy.
Well, for obvious reasons, because they're trying to be like lay low and be in hiding because there's people trying to kill them.
Yeah, so
it just made his job so much more harder.
It did, yeah, especially with Adia. Like he doesn't quite get it that he can't just, they're in hiding. But yeah, that is a really beautiful scene. I love that water fall scene when she's dancing, and I also love
that scene too.
Like at first, when I first watched it, I thought he literally showed up in the water next to her. I was like, she's very calm for like this dude that just. But then I realized that's in his mind. He didn't actually go in the water. Like when I first saw it, I was a little unclear about that. I was like, that's kind of weird that she's so calm. That this dude just randomly popped up in the water next to her. But then he claims he didn't see anything. He didn't look.
Yeah.
He looked.
Even when he tells the story to Arya.
Yeah. Yes. And like he says, like he saw the princess bathing, and kind of gets all scandalized, and Arya's like, and what happened next?
Yeah.
So eventually they do decide to get married. They have a small kind of ceremony, and that's after Karuaki Bhima sort of like vindictively tells Kadwaki that she is not related to the royal family, and that she should get off her high horse because they don't know her origin.
So even so,
Yeah.
like they still adopted her. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, he was just trying to take her down a peg.
Yeah, but like they're clearly trying to be like, yeah, you are the princess. If they haven't told her yet and haven't made a big deal out of it.
Yeah. He wanted to take her down a peg because she was basically telling him, rightfully so, don't tell me what to do. I'm the princess.
This is why I didn't like Bhima. He did not know his place in this. I was like, you stay down.
He didn't. He definitely did not. So there's a very emotional scene where Kadwaki slices her finger, which that scene always, like, my God, that's a lot of blood. She slices her finger and she says, I just realized I don't know my origins. My blood is unknown. And of course, Ashok says, because he really, really wants her, that all blood is the same, which is a change considering that, being of royalty, there would be a really distinct difference between royalty and lower. So, but anyway, because he loves her. He says that all blood is the same, and that he wants her anyway.
Yeah.
Well, also he's a prince, so he's like, yeah, we're married now.
Yeah.
And so if we ever do go back to where I live, then like you're a princess automatically. Yeah. But also like what was nice was, first off, his mother just decides to break her vow of silence, and then he goes back home, and I'd be like, Ma, really? Like, really? Seriously?
Yeah, she lied about me very ill.
But then, when he tells, his family about it and everything like that, she's like, who's her family? And he's like, we're her family. I'm like, that's nice.
That is nice.
Yeah, no, I loved the when Ashok was a good guy. In that first hour and a half.
His descent into madness, though. Boy, does he flip on a dime.
Well, he does think that Kadwaki is dead.
Yeah.
So, what's there left for him to live for?
So essentially, Kadwaki and
How about
Adia,
his new wife and son and daughter that are on the way?
That was before the fact.
They're incidental.
Millions must die.
Yeah. So essentially, Kadwaki and Adia go to this village where they seek shelter. However, the assassins find them. Kadwaki and Adia escape because a woman basically takes her son, and basically says, "I'm the princess." So the assassins think they've killed the princess and the prince. Bhima, Ashok finds Bhima, and Bhima is less than forthcoming and less than honest. And Ashok
Communication.
says,
Communication's key here,
and he
people.
essentially shows Kadwaki's anklet, and Ashok basically, under the assumption, oh my God, I've lost her, she's dead. Bhima does nothing to correct that assumption.
I loved the scene of him, like, putting the ashes on his face.
Yeah.
Like, it's so melodramatic, but it works.
Yeah, and essentially that begins his descent into madness because he no longer has Kadwaki's influence, her calm, and he returns to his kingdom, finds himself a new wife, and essentially begins his campaign of conquest and conquer. Which
yes, he does.
leads to a lot of death.
A lot.
A
lot of blood.
His brothers try to kill him again. It doesn't work.
Which is like the 14th attempt on his life
because they
in this
haven't
movie.
learned their lesson that they just can't kill this dude. And eventually the final kingdom is Kalinga. Surprise, surprise, Kadwaki and Adia are not dead. Oops, sorry about that.
Unbelievable. I'm so unprofessional.
Sorry.
The amount of times and the amount of straight on shots of Ashok when he says Kalinga. Like in the final hour of the movie, I was like, this is good stuff. Kalinga.
Yeah, and Kadwaki decides that she's going to fight alongside her people, and there's an epic battle.
There is an epic battle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this epic battle. This is the battle at the end.
Yes.
And so it's Kalinga against Ashok's army.
Yes.
And did you notice when Karaki, when her like group shows up and like surprises them? Did you guys notice who's in the front lines?
No.
It's this guy who, I'm a big guy, is bigger than me, like from the waist. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that dude's not making it. Like, he's not gonna make it. I was like, they did not get the most physically fit person to stand in the front there. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else knows.
I was too busy looking at the elephants.
I loved Karawaki's armor because it was so much less than everybody else's.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She was in just like a t-shirt
Yeah.
and with like one thing here, and it's like, okay.
She
Everyone
has
else is
to look-
covered up.
Listen, you cannot have common sense when it comes to armor. And women, you have to look sexy while you're fighting for your life. That's what it boils down to.
Apparently so.
And,
Yes.
and talk about melodramatic. Her in that final battle scene was just, everything was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, just staring at Asoka, and then someone just hits her on the head with a hammer.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
whoa!
And she's alive. Miraculously alive.
Oh my god. I remember, like, there's a behind-the-scenes shot, because I think she was about 19 or 20 when she filmed this, and you see at one point she gets lost, and she goes like this to the director, because she doesn't remember where she's supposed to be in the scene. But,
I really loved her as a screen presence. She was so much
Yes.
fun, and
was very
very
good.
charming. I loved her tattoos, too.
Yes,
Those were
yeah.
so cool.
yeah.
Do you know if they have any significance or they were just there for aesthetic purposes?
I don't know. So I was telling this to Katie before we were filming. So with this film, in this time period, I don't know how much is really documented. So they were talking about when it came to, like, the soundtrack of the film. Obviously, with certain numbers, it goes without saying that's not historically accurate. The whole tavern scene where the girl's like flying around on trapeze and all these outfit changes. Obviously, that's not historically accurate. But they were saying that they don't really have much evidence of what their music would have sounded like or what they would have been doing, so they had to do a lot of inferring. I think also with the tattoos, I don't really know if it's historically accurate. If anyone watching this does, like, I'd be curious. Like, I think it was just done for aesthetics.
Okay.
But yeah, I do like them too.
It's very aesthetically pleasing.
Can we talk about my boy Ravat? I can't speak.
oh, I loved him.
He was so cool.
Yeah.
I love whenever like an annoying guy becomes like the best friend.
Yeah.
It's just like, yes.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah,
I
and
loved
no,
his-
and
I
then
loved
at
his
the end
neck
he's the
cracks.
one being like, "This is
voice of
wrong,
reason.
my man.
Yeah.
You can't do this."
Yeah, I loved the neck crack.
Yes.
That he does constantly. I do also, like, what kind of frustrates me is, like, the constant misses, because also, Ashok, when he meets Kawaki, he tells her his name is Pavan, which means wind. It's also the name of his horse. So she doesn't even know his real name. So when she's searching for him, no one knows who she's talking about.
Yeah.
And there's a really tragic scene where, like, the army is passing, and
I
Bhima basically
hated
says,
that
we have to get
scene.
going, and she looks, and she's desperate to find him, and as soon as she turns, Ashok passes by on his elephant.
I understand that they need the narrative to keep going, but
Yeah.
I hate, with a passion, near misses because it aggravates me to no end.
Yeah. So when she finally sees Ashok, and there's a moment in the battle when she's like getting ready, and I think the sun is sort of blocking him, and then she sees his face and the utter devastation and shock on her face when she realizes the man I'm prepared to kill is the man that I love, and he's the one that's essentially killed everyone.
Right.
And at this point, he still hasn't seen her. She gets knocked out. He wanders the battlefield, and he is utterly shocked and horrified by what he's wrought. Like,
well, and that's after, though, that he gets the news from this messenger that his wife,
Devi,
thank you. I don't know why that stuck in my head.
It's okay.
Diva. Thank you, Lil, for that. And she's given birth to twins, a boy and a girl, and before he had left, she'd sworn that he would never know his children, and now he's not, and now he's got the word he'll never see them again, and that kind of like takes him down from whatever rage and sorrow and madness that he's under, and that's when he walks through the battle,
and it's pretty gory. Like watching it, I was like, there's a head there, an arm here.
An arm, yeah. The freaking leg was lying next to her while she was laying there. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Did anybody else love the Pan's Labyrinth-esque moment where Devi tells him that she's pregnant? And then he's like, oh, my son I will teach my son this, and this.
Yeah.
And she's like, what if it's a daughter? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
I thought of you immediately with that scene. I was like, that's just like the Pan's Labyrinth that Lou always talks about.
Yeah. Very true. Yeah. So, and eventually they meet up, and, Karawaki...
She's devastated.
Waving a blade in front of his face and basically saying
he's like, I'm so sorry. I killed everyone in your country.
Thousands of people.
But it is so heartbreaking because you can see that she still loves him. He obviously loves her, and he obviously up until this point has thought she's dead.
Oh yeah.
So now he sees her. And there is a moment where they reconcile. Arya shows up.
My God.
And he basically says, Pavan, where have you been? And he doesn't even know that the man who's standing is the man that basically has killed him.
Yeah.
And he goes, you promised you'd return.
Yeah, you let them take my lands.
Yeah, and then you see he reaches out for him. And Arya just falls, and he has 3 arrows sticking in his back.
I died. I cried so hard. That broke me.
I'm laughing a little bit now because just when you say these things out loud in such a plain way, it's sort of like, oh, that's so cliche and goofy. But let me tell you, when you're watching this, that hits like a train. That whole sequence is beautifully done.
The kid's really adorable.
Yeah.
And you really actually grow to like the kid quite a bit. and then he's just got arrows sticking out of him at the end.
And then he dies in his arms.
Oh, and that was the other thing. When he's telling the story, he's like, and then?
Yeah.
And then? And you're like, oh, man, there is no more and then. No. You dying.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he says, it's getting dark. And he's like, no, the stars are still there. The moons are bright. It's like, no.
How do you think the conversation went with Ashoka and the people when he converted, for lack of a better word, to Buddhism, and then it was like, my bad about the mass genocide.
Oh, they wouldn't be happy.
That was evil Ashoka, guys. I'm good Ashoka.
But I'm cool now.
I really
that
did
was my
like
evil twin.
The ending where they just referred to Ashoka's past as evil Ashoka, and now he became good Ashoka. And it's oh.
It was my evil twin. I killed him.
I had a phase, going through a phase.
So one thing that I have to bring up that really, really stood out to me, the reckless and careless grabbing of blades.
Oh.
Well, no. So I will say that on a sword, there is a dull part of the blade.
There's a dull side of a sword.
Right, where the hilt.
But I know what you're talking
grabbing
about.
the whole thing. I'm like, doesn't that hurt?
It would
I was thinking the same thing because I like. For those who have been with us a while, I tend to be the one that fixates on things that don't really matter. So, but I was thinking the same thing because there's a scene where Karawaki is like not playing with a sword, but she's like swooshing the sword around. And
swooshing. That's the correct verbiage for that.
Yes, that's what I'm going with. And Ashoka goes, "Oh my God, that's so sexy!" And he goes, "What are you doing?" And he doesn't say that, but that's what I picture is going through his mind.
That's your interpretation of the scene. Yes.
So Karawaki basically says, "I refuse to be defenseless. I refuse to basically have to rely on someone." So then there's that sexy moment where he goes up behind her. He says, "Then hold the blade like this." And they do like this choreo.
It's a seduction.
And I watched the behind the scenes of that. I was like, I don't know how.
That scene rocked.
I know. I don't know how Karina was in that scene. I would have been. But so he basically does this dance as you go like this. And it pays off because with those few moments of training, she's able to full on go into a battlefield.
Yeah, she basically led an army.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't need a lifetime of training.
I want to point something out as well about the movie. Now, this is not an overall criticism of the movie. It's just something that I observed, and I wanted to know your guys' takes on it. I know this movie was made in 2001, but did anyone else think that the sound effects of it made the movie feel like it was an older movie than 2001?
I'm actually surprised it was 2001. For some reason, I thought it was 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simone, you mentioned the echo to it.
Oh, yeah.
Which, no, the sound design in it is, I think perhaps just, I don't know too much, but I think Bollywood sound design was just different at that point. So,
Yeah, and you notice it a lot more with like older films. What I will say is that like echoey quality has improved greatly. I think it also might just be, I think sometimes for like dramatic effect, I think that echo, and again, I don't know, like I'm not claiming to be an expert, but I think it might be employed for dramatic effect.
And like I said, this wasn't like a criticism of the movie. I want to be clear about that because I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It's just an observation that
I think it just might be maybe a stylistic kind of choice, I think. Did you guys have any favorite musical numbers?
The one with the karaoke in the waterfall, I thought was baller.
Yeah. I read this one criticism of, well, first of all, they were criticizing the movie as a whole, but they were talking about the songs and basically how karaoke, the character, only exists like they were talking about that dance number where the whole purpose is just to see her in a wet blouse and there's really no purpose to the scene.
Oh my
Hey, you know what? You got to draw people in.
Yeah.
Actually, there was one review that I read that was like, leave your preconceived notion at the door, and if you don't like it, and what's the actress's name? Kareena Kapoor or something?
Yeah.
They were like, at least you get to watch Kareena Kapoor dance.
Kareena Kapoor Khan because she's married.
It's a masala film. That's one of the spices in there,
Yeah, I think San Sananana, which is the song where she's dancing the waterfall, is really good. I love that one, and I like the Ore Kanchi, I think is the song, where they're about like being a glass doll and they're in the village. And
that was fun. That was
Pavan
fun.
is like, get away from me.
Yeah.
I need to dance.
I loved afterwards when he was like, well, we had a lot of fun dancing and singing. And it's just like, wait, that was just part of the plot. They just got sidetracked for 5 minutes.
Yeah, like he's like, oh, just get away from me. And he's like dancing, like he just tosses and she's, I love that scene.
I really loved the, and I wish they were in it more. I really liked the three guys.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what role they were. I don't know who they played.
They're just three guards.
Are they just guards?
Yeah,
right?
they're just a Greek chorus to be like, what did the guards think of all this?
Yeah.
And then that girl.
And the girl. That's just like talking to them and everything like that. But I loved the one scene where the middle guy is like, oh, I'm so mad. And then the other guy's like, why? And he's like, my wife was with Kamina last night. And, or says she was with Kamina last night. And he's like, oh, why are you mad about that? He was like, because I was with Kamina last night. And then the other guy's like, oh, I was with Kamina too. And then the other guy goes, hey, Kamina's the name of my wife. I was like, I like these guys.
Yeah, and then later on he's like, oh, my wife had a baby. And the girl's like, wait, haven't you not been home in over a year?
And he's like counting on his fingers. Like,
They were the comedic relief of this movie, for sure.
Yeah, one of them is Johnny Lever, who apparently is a very big comedian in India.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was trying to find...
Yeah, we needed more scenes with them.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been nice if the movie ended with them, actually.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, I think they should have brought in the Greek chorus again. Yeah.
What I will say is that this movie certainly wasn't as heavy as Kala.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Wait, was that the one where she smoked the weed?
Smoking weed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, come on, folks. It was not that... I'll never live. Like, honestly, people... It wasn't that bad. I mean, yes, it was depressing, but was the film that bad?
Oh, I don't remember it being that bad. Isn't she like sexually assaulted and stuff like that too? Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it was much heavier than this.
It is much. It's a heavy movie. It's a good movie, but it's a very heavy movie.
Episode. I just didn't. I didn't watch it for whatever reason, so I sat that one out. But I remembered the great debate
of whether it was weed or a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like you don't smoke a cigarette like that.
And you don't shotgun a cigarette either.
It was definitely.
But yeah, I guess this is like Om Shanti Om, not as depressing as this, but Ram Leela, a little more depressing than this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ram Leela rocked, and Om Shanti. All three of the Bollywood films I've watched for this podcast have gone so hard.
Ram Leela is definitely Romeo and Juliet, so we all knew what was going to happen at the end of that movie.
Yeah. That's another example of how you allow your hatred and your anger to consume you and look at what the results are. So unfortunately, Asoka learned that too late. And he never paid for his actions, but
he became a monk.
So I guess
it's all good now.
Redemption.
I'm trying to find the actors who are the comedians.
So it's Johnny Lever, Raghuveer Yadav, and Suresh Menon.
Yeah. And like a lot of these have appeared in like other films. Like I was telling Joe that one of the comedians, he's in the film Earth, which is part of a trilogy, Earth, Water, and Fire, which those are Hindi language productions, but they kind of follow a very Western sort of way of filming, but they are Hindi language films, and they are really good too. In fact, I was thinking about watching one of those, although they're all kind of depressing, because Earth is about the partition of India, Water is about Hindu widows.
Is there a lighthearted movie in Bollywood?
Om Shanti Om was pretty lighthearted.
Yeah, no, there definitely are.
But
the issues are that I find is that you can't find a lot of these films. Like that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
Like they're but like on Netflix, there's a lot of Shah Rukh Khan's films, and there are several comedies in there. Which are really good.
He's funny. Even in this, he's very funny.
Yeah.
At
Yes.
points.
Yeah, that lighthearted playfulness.
A lot of just the big ones are masala films, so it's a little bit of comedy, some romance, some action, musical, tragedy, everything's in there.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so long. They're meant to be like everybody goes out to the movies and just has a great time. It's a day's outing.
Well, I mean, like an epic. I feel like any like historical piece from any other place in the world aside from the Western countries are going to be a really long movie, because aside from like Lawrence of Arabia or anything else from like older Hollywood, we don't really have epic historical pieces anymore.
Ridley Scott still makes them.
Well, yes, but aside from Ridley Scott, but like anything else that has come out recently is I was in for the long haul, as it were.
Scorsese did
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And then what was the one with the priests?
Silence.
Yeah. And that's kind of along the same lines. That one was long.
Yeah. Killers of the Flower Moon is the longest movie I've seen in a theater.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How long is it?
That one's 3.5, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
It earns every minute.
Yeah.
It is, genuinely one of the most stunning movies I've seen.
Yeah.
And the fact that a dude made it this late in his career is astonishing.
Yeah.
And you can't get it, right? You have to have Apple, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have a Blu-ray release. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
It's like... But yeah, and too, just like, I don't know, a white guy in his 80s making like a film that sensitive about like Native American exploitation and genocide is astonishing. Yeah. I'm sorry. Enough gushing about Scorsese. I'm gonna gush about the director of this a little bit, Santosh Sivan. He also is a cinematographer for this, and outside of my few gripes with how the action scenes are done, this movie looks pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the choreo, like the way the songs are choreographed, like the man responsible, he's known for being kind of out there with the choreography. So I was thinking about the musical number that comes when Ashok is sort of reminiscing about Karwaki, and it's like he's like in white, she's in white, and they're dancing almost through these reeds. Like, so the way it's shot, it's very like almost out there, like in terms of choreo, but it's one of the
like
beautiful
beautiful
musical numbers. And then it ends with him just alone, like searching for her because she's disappeared.
Yeah, I only had that one issue that I told you about yesterday, and it was really just that one scene.
Yeah.
Where just like the camera just like jumped too much.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, I had no problems with the way it was shot.
Yeah, he did a film in the 90s that's apparently amazing. It's a Tamil film, The Terrorist. I think it was somewhat controversial, but it got, like, I don't know, a lot of American filmmakers saw it, and they were like, this is amazing. And, like, it's very well known for its cinematography. It's been used to teach cinematography in a lot of classes and stuff. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see that at some point.
Nice.
I think how they got around any like major controversy was they just were like, this is an unnamed country and an unnamed terrorist group, and there is no known reason why they're doing this. There's no ideology attached. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I was thinking about another, like, Bollywood film that when it was made, like, they burned the sets down. There was a lot of controversy about that film because it's based on a queen who's mentioned in a poem. I'm not even sure, like, how much is known about her, but basically, like, extreme, like, Hindu conservatives lost their minds over the film, and, like, they were burning sets down. I think they sent, like, death threats to the actors that were in the film.
Oh my God.
And then I think, like, Muslims were, I think, upset at the depiction of the Muslim character.
Oh,
I mean, the main character is very
talking about
crazy.
this film before.
Yeah, he's insane. But yeah, that's a beautiful film. Also, they were upset at the ending. I don't want to spoil what happens at the end. Got a lot of people upset. But yeah.
I know a recent Shah Rukh Khan film caused some controversy among like certain political groups because there was a scene where I think where he's in orange and he's dancing with a woman in green, and it's meant as like a sort of like like a peaceful thing between like Hindus and Muslims, right?
Yeah, because he is Muslim, and he has been, his sort of patriotism has been questioned, because how can he be patriotic and be Indian, but he's Muslim? So he's had to sort of like come out saying like, I am very patriotic, I am Indian. So yeah,
that's bogus.
Yeah, so there's
that he has to like.
Yeah, but there are, like, I don't know, I know, like, there are a lot of people that claim he can't act, that he's just Shah Rukh Khan in every film that he
can act.
does.
He's so much fun to watch.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but there's just something about him that I love. Like, I understand why he's one of the most popular actors and he's still acting in the industry. There's just something about him.
He's a lovable guy. You just look at him. Now, okay, I found out that apparently in the 90s he played a lot of villain roles.
Yes.
Which I'd be very interested to see. Like,
Netflix has those films.
Okay, I know there's one where he plays like a stalker. That's apparently
that is fantastic. Like, when I was rewatching it, like, I had forgotten when I was younger, I watched that film, but like, I had Pakistani friends and they like were watching film and it wasn't subtitled, so I had no clue what was going on. But I remembered a line in the song because I think the female's, like, her character's name is Kiran. And there's a song where it goes, Meri Kiran, like my Kiran. And I was like, oh my God, I know this. And then as I was watching, like, I've seen this film. Yeah, he is crazy in that film. It goes without saying, he is a stalker.
It's called Dar, A Violent Love Story.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And that, I think, is on Netflix.
Yeah, and I know apparently at the time, like, most people were kind of scared to take villainous roles because they thought, like, you can't become a big star like that.
Yeah, if you were a leading man at a certain point, you would not have done specific roles. He was not that leading man. Like, he would do any role. He played another role, which I think was extremely controversial, where he's also a psychotic character, and in the opening scene, he tosses a girl off a balcony. And I remember people were very, like, sort of outraged and shocked at it, but he did that role. So he has, also, I feel really bad, like, 'cause especially with these musical numbers, he's lifting the female actors, and he actually damaged his back because when he was young, he did so many of these, like, dance numbers, these, like, acrobatic things, where he damaged his back because of what he did. But yeah, he definitely took on these roles because he wasn't afraid to challenge himself. And at the time, if you were a leading man, you wouldn't do certain things. But yeah, like, and those films, I think, are on Netflix. They're great. There's another one called The Double, where he's playing a goofy role. There's, like, the villain bad boy character, and I love the way he plays the two characters in the film. He's great.
Well, wait, so he plays like two different characters?
Yes.
Yes, my favorite thing. Love
like,
that
one's
stuff.
the goofy character and one's the bad boy in, like, the leather or whatever. And I think one has, like, he has this, like, weird tick thing that he does with the character, and it's just really funny. And they have a similar name, too. the two characters, like, yeah, it's I think it's called The Double or something like that, or Double or whatever. That's really good.
I'm finding this right now.
Sorry,
You're
I'm, like,
talking.
I'm nerding out. Like, it's just like a Double. It's just so cute.
Like how your brief summary of the plot is like 4 pages long.
It's never a brief summary with Simona. It's a book long. And they're not notes because I don't see any bullet points.
But yeah, no, this was a lovely time. I'm
Yeah, I'm glad.
very glad we watched this.
What are we rating it out of?
Elephants?
Okay. I'll bat lead off. I liked it. It was fun. Devi deserved better.
Of course, she did.
Karukari, what's her name?
Karwaki.
Karwaki was excellent. The actress, loved it. My boy Bhima, I was rooting for him. He made some mistakes, but I was rooting for him. Arya, the kid, was digging him.
Virat, amazing.
Yeah, Virat.
Virat.
Like every character. I think
Yeah.
I really liked every character. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 elephants.
I would give 4 out of 5 elephants too. And there was one scene that we didn't talk about. It's the scene where Bhima realizes who Ashok is, and he's like taking that like mud bath.
Yeah.
And you see the profile. All of a
Yeah.
sudden he's just like pouring the water, and like the mud's coming in. It's like,
Yeah.
and then he gets attacked, and
That didn't look very like
I
cleansing.
know
and,
mud
like,
baths are a thing, but I was just like, damn, I wouldn't like this at
No,
all.
it did not look. It did not look comfortable to be in. Yeah.
But I just love that because like the profile isn't enough yet.
Yeah.
You gotta like pour the water on him.
And you know when they bring him back, they threw a spear in his back. So but he gets back, and he says Pawan to say like to say to what's her face, and then it looked like he was still alive, and they put the sheet over his face. I was like, I think he was about to say more. Like it didn't look like he died yet. Like
No, he was pretty good. I'm sorry. What about you guys?
Oh, 4.5 elephants out of 5. Very entertaining.
Oof.
Beautiful movie. Yeah.
4 elephants out of 5. Great time. Check this out.
Yeah.
Every next Bollywood movie I see, I'm always like, this is amazing. So, yeah, I need to do a deep dive on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And that film where Shah Rukh Khan plays 2 guys, it's called Duplicate.
Duplicate, yes.
This poster is amazing. I love the goofy one. He's making a great face.
Yeah, there's the 2 of them have love interests. So naturally,
Nice.
The switcheroos
the
happen.
bad boy has the spicy girl love interest, and there is an hysterical scene, which is not spoiling anything, where she's trying to seduce the wrong guy, but she doesn't realize, and Shah Rukh Khan is just like goofily trying to avoid her, like they're going around a fountain, and she's like disrobing, and he's like, oh my god, and, he's like, and at one point he tries to cover her, but she's like, no, and she doesn't get it yet.
Yeah.
And then the bad one meets the good girl, and he's all like almost gyrating. And she's like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" So it's just such a funny scene because both of them haven't gotten it yet. Like this is the wrong guy.
Yeah.
But it's really funny the way he plays both parts.
Is the terrorist one on Netflix?
I'm not sure. The Terrorist, 1998. No, doesn't look like it's streaming anywhere right now, unfortunately. Let's see. No, you can't even rent it on Google Play. That's annoying. Is it on Mubi? No, it's not on Mubi. Never mind. Yeah.
Oh, darn.
But it looks like those 90 Shah Rukh Khan ones are, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I gotta watch Dar because I want to see him as a crazy stalker.
Oh, that's a good time. Oh my god, yeah, that's a. Really
Oh,
good one.
177 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, I just like the Medikita, and he has a stutter in the thing too. Yeah, like, but just like I was so funny because as I was like, why does this sound so familiar? And then I heard the stutter. I'm like, oh my god, I've watched this before. Yeah. But he's psychotic, but he has his reasons. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's right to be a stalker.
Yes. Little tease that Keaton is. Yeah. So yeah. Before I conclude, any final thoughts, you guys?
No, it's just a fun time.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our discussion of Asoka. This film is available on Netflix if you do want to check it out. If it's a film that you have watched and you enjoy, please leave a comment. As always, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Bye.